ミラノ派が分かればカウンセリングが見えてくる。ミラノ派の第一人者、パオロ・ベルトランド先生にお聞きします。カウンセラーの責任について質問します。カウンセリングの結果は、うまくいったりいかなかったりします。カウンセラーはこの結果について、どのくらい責任がありますか？ I ask about the counselor's responsibilities. The outcome of counseling can be successful or unsuccessful. How much counselor has responsibility of outcome?
This is a very, very important question, and I think it's been an issue from the very beginning. I won't say of systemic therapy, from the very beginning of therapy at large, because actually there are different things at stake here. Because psychotherapy, as such, should make people more free than before. You know, Sigmund Freud said that people are enslaved by their neurosis, and the task of the therapist is to make people free to choose. And so the problem is, if people should be free to choose, the outcome of therapies is up to them rather than to the counselor. And whereas strategic therapists like Jay Haley used to say, no, that's not true, you know, because we make a contract at the beginning. Of course, in this case, I'm talking about, strategic therapy where you decide about one problem, and then you say, we must solve this specific problem. Then we make a contract, the therapist and the client, and the contract ends when the problem is solved. So actually, it's not an open therapy, because psychoanalysis, for example, is an open-ended therapy. The therapy ends when they decide that it must end, because there is no specific goal. The goal is to make the person happier, free of neurosis, and so on and so forth, but it's not specific. Whereas in strategic therapy, you have a very well-defined outcome. So in strategic therapy, Jay Haley says that the counselor is responsible for the outcome of therapy. So I am successful only if I can solve the specific problem. So I must use all the means that I have at my disposal in order to solve the problem. And this means, for example, using strategies that the client is not aware of and all this kind of stuff. And Jay Haley says this is ethical because we have decided from the beginning that we have that goal, and I've been authorized by the person to use means that the person doesn't know. Remember that strategic therapy was an evolution of hypnosis. And in hypnosis, of course, the client, trusts completely the therapist, because what's going on in hypnosis, we don't know. So actually, I must put myself at the therapist's disposal, and then the therapist decides what to do. Of course, he decides that within ethical constraint and within the contract that have been drawn at the beginning. Now, what have we chosen? Because you have these two extremes, and so you have to choose. And I think that in the end, we began to think that it's very important in counseling or therapy that the client should be the one who makes decisions. So the client should take responsibility for his or her life. And so if it is so, it cannot be the therapist to be responsible for the outcome. But the therapist has a very important responsibility, that is the responsibility for the process. So the therapist is responsible to make the process a therapeutic process and to make sure that everything is done in order to help the client, in order to ease the situation of the client, and so on and so forth. And it is a big responsibility, but it's not a responsibility for the final outcome, because otherwise we will restrain the clients. What the client's possibilities. So what we mean is, in therapy, we put the clients in front of their own lives. We try to devise hypotheses about that. We try to, clarify their emotions. We try to clarify their connections, their position in the relevant system, and so on and so forth. And then we give back this picture to the client and say, what we see is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. You have this. Now you have the possibility to move on, or to stay where you are, or even to go backwards. And nobody can take this responsibility from you. But remember, if you remain in the same position now that you know, it's not that you are constrained. You remain in the same position because you choose to. So it's your choice. And it's your choice. You decide. You can do that. You can stay in the same position, but at this point, it's your own decision. And so we give the clients back the responsibility for his or her own situation, the whole situation. You are responsible because you are responsible for the position that you take. Maybe there are some things that are impossible for you, and you have to remember that. For example, if you are a 13-year-old, maybe you would like to run away and not to see your parent anymore, but you can't, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you say. So you would like to, but so you cannot simply run away, but you are responsible for the position that you take in front of your parents. You can have different positions, and you can choose one or another. And this is your choice, and this is your freedom. And if I manage to do that, if I manage to give this person the possibility of seeing their position and to take responsibility for their position, I think I have done my job. This means that the therapist is not responsible for the outcome, but the therapist has a big responsibility anyway. Because the responsibility of maintaining a proper therapeutic process and have the process evolve and have the people understand what you are doing in therapy is a big responsibility enough for the therapist. The outcome, we hope we will reach. Of course, we want to reach an outcome, and we are striving to reach this outcome, but we won't try to press the client in order to reach this outcome, because this would be counter-therapeutic. We become, we become something different than a therapist or a counselor. We become a mental coach, which is a different thing, I think.
So I want to ask also other question. For example, outcome is successful. Is successful. We never say, but secretly, I won't say because I did a good question. We never say. But so we always. But anyway, if outcome is successful, I can't know how much I could do good job. I mean, could be changed in good medicine, or I meet some good friend outside, So how I can evaluate myself? I did a good job or bad?
What I think you are right, because psychotherapy anyway deals with people's lives, and in people's lives a lot of things happen all the time, so we cannot know. You are right. I meet a person, I get a better job, and this is a chance happening, and cannot be influenced by therapy. So I cannot be certain that my therapist was the thing that did the job. But at the same time, I think that if the therapeutic word is good enough, it will be some effect. So, for example, I cannot say therapy makes people encounter a good friend, or encounter a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Yes, but maybe without therapy, the clients would not have seen this person, because in order to see a person that you meet, that you understand that it could be a good person for you, you need to have some awareness, and maybe therapy helped. then can I be 100% certain? No, I can't. So every time I must maintain this kind of uncertainty. Then, if you do enough therapies in your life and the outcome is usually good enough, not always, but often good enough, you think, well, it cannot be chance all the time.
Si, come